All right, looks like we're live. My name's Tyler,
I'm Gina.
and we're going to talk to you today a little bit about the out-of-state experience for incoming Fort Hays State students. So we have a couple questions ready, and we're going to talk about some of our own experiences.
For the first question, it's about residential life, and it says, describe your experience with the residential life.
Yeah, residential life for me was a really great experience just because you become part of a community. Even if you're not in a living and learning community, you get really close with the people on your floor and your resident assistant, and just everyone becomes so close, and you have so many people looking out for you and supporting you.
Mm-hmm. My res life experience was a little different. I didn't meet my roommate until about 10 days before move-in, and it turned out to be the best experience ever. We clicked really well right at the beginning, and we've been close ever since. And res life is definitely an interesting experience. I encourage you to leave your door open because then you see everything. There was one time a bat up in the sixth floor of McMidas, and it was crazy, but it was a lot of fun. And I definitely think that every freshman should definitely live the res hall experience. And who knows, you may love it and live there for another year like I did, or another 4 years like a lot of people I know have. So yeah, what's our next question?
Um, what was something you had to adjust to when moving to Hays, Kansas?
I think the biggest adjustment was not knowing anyone. I went from a big city where there was competing Starbucks on each corner to having the only Starbucks within a 90-mile radius. I also, going from big city to small was definitely huge, but the fact that I was the only person I knew coming here, that was huge. I had to make friends, and I had to adjust how I interacted with people, how I explained myself, because a lot of people are from places where their graduating class was 9 and mine was 409. So it's definitely cool to see like what you have to offer. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
Yeah, for me it was kind of similar. For those of you that are coming from big cities, you'll understand that you have kind of on-demand entertainment where you're coming from. There were always things to do. The thing about Hays is, even though it's a small town, there are a lot of things to do. You just have to look a little closer than you would in those big cities. A lot of my friends and family ask me, what do I even do out here? Because to them, it seems like we're in the middle of nowhere, but there is things to do on campus and off campus. There are a ton of student organizations, I think over 100 now, right?
Yep, over 100 student organizations. There's things like $4 movie nights. There's Wing Wednesday, which is $50 wings at one of the locations. There's Thursday night bowling where it's 50 cents per game. There's a couple of frisbee golf arenas or areas. There's shooting ranges. There's a bowling alley. Again, like I said, the movie theater, but it's like 6 theaters, so it's really tiny and really pretty cool. And we do have a mall and things like that. The things that we described might sound a little lame compared to big city, but it's really unique and special here. So
definitely.
Yeah.
Another question?
Yeah. So tell me about jobs, part-time jobs, on-campus jobs, things like that.
Yes, there are a ton of part-time jobs available to new students. During Tiger Impact, our orientation, there will actually be a part-time job fair where students will be able to check out a lot of different places in Hays that are providing jobs and submit applications and resumes and things like that.
Mm-hmm. And you can also check out an on-campus job through your Tiger Tracks on JobX. You'll just go to the online services tabs under your Tiger Tracks, and there's a ton of options for on-campus jobs. They work around your school schedule, and they only require you to work 20 hours a week, which can't be guaranteed with an off-campus job. So definitely check out both options and figure out what's better for you. So,
yeah. How are academics different here than in high school?
Well, academics, you can choose what time you want to go to class. If you're not a morning person and don't want, accounting at 8:30, you can choose not to have accounting at 8:30. You can also choose how many days a week you go. So there are Tuesday, Thursday options and Monday, Wednesday, Friday options. So you can technically only go on campus for 2 days. You can also choose whether or not to go to class. And I hate saying that because you should always go to class. I can count on one hand the amount of times I didn't go to class all throughout college, but you can definitely, you don't have your parents hounding you, you don't have your professors hounding you. Some professors, they do have some requirements as far as how many classes you can skip. I know my senior year, I had 2 classes where if I missed one class, that was all I was allowed. Any other class was 5% grade drop. So figure out, what your comfortability level is with your academics, but you're here to go to college and you're here to get a degree. So don't ever forget that.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people come to college thinking the classes are going to be a lot harder. I wouldn't say that's necessarily true. You just have to put a lot more time into your classes and into your homework and your studies and things like that. You have a lot more freedom. So even though you're in class a lot less hours of the week than you are in high school, you end up putting almost more time into them though outside of class. So you really just need to hold yourself to that and put in the work and you'll do fine here.
Mm-hmm. One of the really good questions that we got was, what was something you did not expect that you were totally not prepared for coming to college?
I guess I think something you don't expect is kind of like the difficult decision between going home or staying at college during the weekends. Mm-hmm. Because there's this huge temptation to go home on the weekends and see all your friends and do the things you normally do with your family and things like that. But there are so many things going on here as well, and you want to be able to get to know people, and you want to step out of your comfort zone and do things with your roommate and with the people on your floor and get involved with clubs and events here on the weekend. So figuring out where you stand on that and trying to be at school as much as possible. Mm-hmm. Something I didn't expect.
Yeah. And with that, I think it's a lot easier being from out of state because it's so much harder to get home. I know for me, it's a 6-hour drive. And when I was in college, I had a car that probably could have crapped out whenever it wanted to. So I didn't drive as much home as I wanted to, but at the same time, I was also super involved in a lot of things. And so my weekends were always busy with either work or Greek life or RA events that were happening or orientation. That's one thing to get involved in. But, I think another thing that I definitely didn't expect coming to college was the amount of free time you have. In high school, you feel like you're just always bombarded with school. If you're involved in athletics, if you have a job, things like that, your time frame is like super clogged up. Well, in college, you can be done with classes by noon or even earlier than that. So then you have from noon until whenever you fall asleep to do whatever you wanted. And you can really choose whether to go to the library or go to a movie with your friends or things like that. And you just have to be your own boss since your parents aren't there to tell you to do your homework anymore. So that was something I definitely wasn't prepared for coming to college.
Yeah. What was the most difficult part specifically being an out-of-state student?
Well, when I came here, I thought, since I was the only person I knew coming here, I thought I was the only person from Colorado. I thought I was the only person that came from my area and was super cool. But that was not true. I actually lived 2 doors down from someone from my same hometown. And we never met before until we came to college. And so that was pretty cool. But, I went into orientation and Tiger Impact being like, oh, well, I'm the only one from Colorado. And then people are like, oh, no, where'd you go? Oh, yeah, I competed against you in gymnastics. Oh, yeah, my sister played soccer too, And so you just have to make sure that who you are and where you're from, but let that wall down too, because, there's a lot of people from a lot of other places that are ready to meet you. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think the most difficult part for me of being out of state is just the fact that you can't just go home whenever you want if you're needed. Most of the students here will be able to get home in maybe less than a 2 or 3 hour drive, but for us, we can't just do that. And that's something you really have to adjust to, that if something happens back home or if you're needed or if you just are really feeling homesick and you need to make a trip home, that's something you really have to plan for, and you can't just have that whenever you want.
Yeah. But what's great also about getting home is there's a lot of different options. We do have a airport here in Hayes, and I know to get to Denver, it only takes less than an hour. So that's pretty nifty. There's a lot of different carpool options. Once you get to know people from your area, you can definitely carpool. When you're involved in activities and clubs, you find people that you can join. You can even go to their hometowns. That's a really cool experience. My roommate I lived with freshman year, she lived in a small town, and we would have family dinners every weekend with her family, and it was a really great time. There's also Greyhound, which is not usually a thought of option, but they have student discounts with a different like little student advantage card, and it's super nice. And it's only a couple hours. And I mean, honestly, if you get it with that student discount and get it early, you can get a super cheap Greyhound bus trip. So
Definitely.
yeah. Let's see. So what are like the class styles? Like, are there lectures, labs? What are the different classes?
Yeah, so one thing that's different about college is that not all of your classes will take up the same amount of time, and they won't always happen at the same time either. So you may have a class for 75, 80 minutes that only meets twice a week, or maybe you have a shorter class that meets 3 times a week. There are also labs, like Gina said, that tend to take a lot longer, but are usually only once a week for specific courses.
Mm-hmm. It also depends on your major too. If you are more geared towards science, like a nursing major would be, you have your microbiology lab, your human biology lab, your anatomy lab, things like that. However, if you're like an accounting major, how many labs did you have?
2.
Like 2. So it really depends on your major. But again, at Fort Hays, our biggest class size is Albertson Hall, room 169, and I think it holds close to 100 people. I know I had a couple general education classes in there, and the biggest class size was like 60, which is something a lot different that Fort Hays can offer than someone that went to a bigger school like Purdue. They have huge classrooms and huge lectures, where Fort Hays, if you do have a bigger lecture hall or something like that, you can still get to know your professor and ask questions. So yeah.
What is something you wish you knew as an incoming student?
I wish I knew to not call my parents all the time. I would call my dad every time I did laundry, because he always did my laundry back at home. I would always call my mom every time I successfully parallel parked. Then we'd get into conversations, and they would last for like 6 hours, and I'd forget to do my homework. Your parents are going to miss you as much as you miss them. But just figure out a way to communicate them that's a little bit healthy for your new learning environment and your new living situation, because talking to your friends and family so much can make you miss it and get you distracted from why you're here. So
I wish I would have been told to branch out more. So when I started in school, for the first 2 years, my roommates were people I went to high school with. And even if you are in a situation where you have a comfortable circle here at Fort Hays, branch out, meet new people. It's seriously going to be so much better for you if you make a lot of friends and meet a lot of people here.
Oh, absolutely. So what can you tell me about when students come back to campus? What's it going to be like with Tiger Impact and Move-In and all that stuff?
Yes. Moving to campus is just such a great time for new incoming students. Move-In is going to be a great time. We're going to have a lot of people here to help, and you won't have to move all of your stuff in by yourself, which is fantastic, and you only get it this one time, so make sure to come to Tiger Impact.
Yes.
But Tiger Impact itself will be just a fantastic week of fun, meeting new people, adjusting and being oriented to your new home at Fort Hays. Gina, you can talk more about specific things.
Like Tyler was saying about Move-In, you have the football team helping you, Greek Life helping you, so you got some big guys helping you move in, so that's pretty great. But you also have some very friendly faces that you get to see all throughout the weekend with Tiger Impact, as well as when you start on campus. You can see a football player and be like, oh, hey, you were the one that helped me move in. When's your next game? I did that. So that's pretty cool. But Tiger Impact, I always say that it's just this gigantic icebreaker, an entire weekend long of icebreakers. There is a lot of traditions that we do here on campus. There is where we teach you guys all the Tiger chant, Tiger cheer, things like that, and the fight song with the pep band, with the cheerleaders, things like that. And we get to learn like what it truly means to be a Tiger all throughout the weekend, through our honor code, through our candle lighting ceremony, and things like that. But there's also still a lot of fun. I know there's going to be a dance party, a casino night. There's Playfair, which is everyone's on the football field, and there's a couple of Possibly you're going to get to know the person next to you better than you knew your friends back in high school. There are a lot of different options. Like Tyler said, there was a part-time job fair. There's also community service options so that you can get to know the community of Hayes a little bit better while doing service. There's also, if you're interested in Greek life, there's some informational sessions on how to get involved. And then after all that crazy weekend, when you actually start school, we have this huge back-to-school picnic, and it's on the quad where all the student organizations and some entities off campus, they get to come and sell themselves. They have discounts on like haircuts and clothing and things like that, and it's really an awesome opportunity. And there's of course barbecues like none other. Yeah, I think another great way to transition is through our first 40 days. Do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, sure. Our first 40 days is a series of programs specifically for first-year students, and pretty much we have programs going on almost every day through our first 40 days of classes. There's so much to do, and we encourage you as new students to get out and do everything you can and meet a lot of new people and really get to know your Fort Hays environment here.
And with your UNIV 101 class that you all are taking, there are some requirements as far as how many first 40-day options you can go to. I know that it's broke off into different sections. So there's an academic section, how many different like Sibelius lectures and things like that you can go to that count for passing that class. Social activities where you can go to barbecues and ice cream socials and things like that. Involvement, they want you to get involved in something. And what's really cool is when you get involved in like say orientation, every one of our orientation leaders is involved in at least one other thing, but a lot of them are involved in multiple other things, which leads us to one of our really great next questions, which is how are you able to balance your involvement, academic life, and work life?
Yeah, time management is such a big thing in college, and it'll really determine how successful you end up being. You'll be balancing classes, like Gina said, involvements, as well as your personal relationships, and as well as getting enough sleep every night. And my best piece of advice for time management and being able to balance your involvements is just to be productive while you can and to write everything down. If you don't write things down, you're not going to remember to do them. I'll just tell you right now. But in terms of being productive while you can, because you will have to put time into other things while you're here, especially involvements. During the day, you're going to have a lot of time to yourself, and it's going to be really tempting to lay on the couch and watch Netflix. And then you'll say to yourself, I'll do this assignment, or I'll do this thing for this club I'm in later tonight. The thing, though, that every single time later tonight, your friends are going to want to do something. Every time. Because they'll all be home from class, and they'll all want to go to dinner and hang out after that. So just be productive while you can, and never assume that you're going to have time later on, if you probably won't.
Yeah, my mom always said tomorrow never comes, because if you always put it off to tomorrow, it never happens. I want to add on that, just as it's a matter of how bad do you want it. You're coming here to college to get a degree. How bad do you want that? You want to join a sorority. Well, how bad do you want to stay in that sorority and keep your 3.0 GPA or whatever? You want to travel the world. Okay, figure out a study abroad option. But how bad are you going to be able to, or are you going to be able to balance your academics? Are you going to be able to tell your work that you want to leave? Things like that. You have to prioritize something and figure out how you can figure out how bad you want it and what sacrifices you have to make it work.
Yeah. So where can students find out how they can get involved?
So like I said earlier about that back to school picnic, that is an awesome way to figure out how to get involved. We also have a office in the basement of the Memorial Union. It's called the Center for Student Involvement, also known as CSI. And you can just go in there and just figure out, what different clubs are offered. And let's say you really wanted to start a Quidditch club, because that's what you did in high school. I don't know. But let's say you and 9 friends all want to join a Quidditch club. You can create one. And we've actually had a Quidditch club here on campus a couple of times, but it didn't work out. But let's say you want to bring it back, you can totally do that. Another way to figure out is through Tiger Link. That's also on your through your Tiger Tracks. You just go to Fort Hays webpage, and you can even scroll down to the bottom and see like a little icon that says Tiger Link. You can click that and see what different organizations there are. And there are also a lot for academics. So say you're a nursing major, I can think of 2 off the top of my head. Pre-med, same thing, things like that. So if you know what you want to get involved in, see if there's a club that surrounds that, because you can be offered opportunities to travel, to learn more about it. You can go to conferences and be in competitions for that, if that's something that you're interested in. So yeah, definitely check out all those options and just ask around. Like, don't be afraid to, leave that door open in the res halls and figure out what your across the neighbor is doing. I went through sorority recruitment right when I moved into campus, and I got to go through recruitment with at least 4 girls at my hall. And it was really great to come back after the long day of recruitment and just talk about the houses and what we experienced and things like that all throughout the res halls. So that was pretty awesome. But, yeah.
Cool. We have time for one more.
One more good question. Let's talk food. Food on campus, food off campus, dining dollars, all that.
Yeah.
Fabulous food stuff.
I can talk about off campus if you want to talk about on campus.
All right.
So there are a ton of great food options in Hayes. There are great burger places, chicken places, all of your fast food places that from home. There's a really great sushi place.
2 now.
There's Starbucks and coffee shops all over the place. There's just a ton of great things here, and a bunch of Mexican restaurants too that are fantastic. So off-campus food here is really good, but so is on-campus food.
On-campus food. So if you're living in McMidas, there is the McMidas Dining. CAF is what a lot of people call it, the CAF. But there is a lot of food options there. There's a endless cereal bar, ice cream bar. They have a Mongolian grill sort of deal. There is a sandwich area. There's also, for you vegetarians out there or gluten-free people, there are options for those food intolerances. And so they might have tofu offered one day or things like that. And that's all offered in the CAF. And it's preferable to use that through your dining dollars, but with your dining dollars, you also get some cash to use at our Memorial Union, or even in Weast, we have Chuck's Place, and it's just like a little grab and go thing. So let's say you're studying and for some reason you really want a smoothie, you can go downstairs to Weast and just grab and go a smoothie. But in the Union, there is Starbucks, there is Mondo's, which is like our version of a Subway. There is Pizza Hut. There's a little Mexican area there. There's also a salad bar, which is pretty fantastic, soup bar, things like that. And you can use that through your dining dollars, which is super great. But you're definitely not going to be left hungry when you come to campus. And when you do come to campus after within the first 40 days, there's a bunch of barbecues. So you're also probably not going to have to pay for food because there's going to be a lot of free stuff. So stay tuned to that.
Awesome. Before we go, I have a couple of reminders from the Office of Admissions. First of all, make sure you get your enrollment finalized soon. If you haven't done that yet or don't know how to do that, please contact your admissions counselor as soon as possible. They also encourage you to check your email every couple of days until you get here. And then once you're here, you really need to be checking your email every day. There's going to be a lot of important information coming to you in the upcoming weeks and months. So please check your mail.fhsu email as much as possible. And finally, if you haven't yet, please join the 2016 Incoming Students Facebook group. It is awesome. There are a lot of good conversations and questions and polls and that. And it's another great way to get connected to people and ask us some more questions as well. So yeah, thanks so much to everyone that submitted questions for us. And we hope you enjoyed this video.
Bye.